Or cinematic sounding.
Yeah, what is
I
that?
don't know.
That are like, stay tuned, like, you know, music. He's cold.
Countdown timer.
Good go.
Thank you. Okay, welcome to the August 5th, 2026 regularly scheduled Durham Planning Board meeting. We have a quorum and one member is not with us tonight, so Mr. Levesque, you'll be a voting member tonight. Okay, perfect. And if you'd all please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? If we have time, one thing I want to add to the end of the agenda is discussion on preparing for the 2027 town meeting and what items we have to review and what kind of homework we need to do in preparation for that. I haven't seen a list. I know, George, you have one that's started, I believe. But I'd like to keep that as part of a rolling agenda item in our meetings going forward so that we can keep track of that and make sure that we're prepared for the 2027 town meeting. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Also, we have a full agenda tonight, so I just want to mention that we do have a meeting continuation policy. We have a cutoff time at 9 p.m. No new agenda items are accepted after 9. But what happens is at 8:30, we'll have a check-in to see how the progress is going. At that time, we'll see if anything can be taken up after 9 p.m. If an application cannot be reached before 9 p.m., it gets rolled over to the next month's meeting, and you'll be at the top of the agenda. If we determine that additional time is needed, we can extend that time or change the time of the next meeting as well. And an applicant has the option to request to table their application, given these time constraints that we have. Any questions on that? Item number 4 for tonight, the acceptance of the July 1st, 2026 meeting minutes. Any comments or questions on that?
No, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from our July 1st, 2026 meeting.
Second. All in favor? Thank you. Great. Number 5, informational exchange on non-agenda items. Mr. Thavards, would you mind giving us your report from July 2026?
Yes, I did include in the planning board packet the report, which included the planning board activities that occurred on July 1st, informing the select board and manager of the site walk you did on July 20th. And then also talking about the formation of the interim economic development committee and the for the study that's going to be done of that area that we've designated. And then finally, I did give the select board a report, an overview of a process for examining gravel pits, which seems to be on their radar screen front and center.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
The gravel pit thing, is there anything for the planning board to do, or is it all in the select
I think the
board?
first step is for the staff and town attorney to kind of look at
Mhm.
the information that I put in that outline
Mhm.
and determine the best approach to compiling all of that needed information to deal effectively with the issue. So at such point as the staff does a report, I think it'll probably first go to the select board to see how they want to proceed.
Mhm.
And then it may or may not be referred to you folks.
Okay.
And again, this is for the, and just to clarify, this is for the overall issue,
Of all gravel.
not for
Right.
any specific
Right.
project.
The ordinance itself.
It's a combination of the ordinance, but it's also a combination of the status of about a dozen gravel pits in town.
Got it. Thank you.
Any non-agenda items that the public would like to discuss tonight? Are there any non-agenda items that non-residents would like to discuss tonight? All right, cool. Let's have some fun. Continuing business, number 6. Public hearing on Pinkham Brook GLC Solar Energy System Conditional Use Application, Map 4, Lot 85. And I have a script here. We're opening it up for public comment for the Durham Planning Board on the application for Pinkham Brook GLC Solar LLC, Flycatcher LLC is the owner's rep. Project is located on 360 Pinkham Brook Road. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive oral and written testimony relevant to the board's review of this application under the town's adopted ordinances and standards. This hearing is not a forum to debate broader town policies or growth management issues, which are established by town meeting and must be applied by the planning board. The board's authority is limited to determining whether the application meets or fails to meet the adopted subdivision standards. The board may receive oral or documentary evidence, but must exclude testimony that is irrelevant or unduly repetitious. The chair will determine the relevance of testimony or evidence presented. Any board member may change that determination by motion, subject by a majority vote of the board. All testimony will be taken in an orderly fashion. Speakers are asked not to interrupt others. The chair may impose reasonable time limits as necessary to ensure that everyone who wishes to speak has an adequate opportunity to be heard. Gauging the size of the crowd, I don't think we're going to need to establish time limits here. All questions and comments shall be directed to the chair. I will then direct questions to the appropriate party, whether that is the applicant, the applicant's consultant, staff, or another party for their response. Direct questioning of parties by members of the public is not permitted. All parties will be given the opportunity to present information, submit rebuttal evidence, and conduct cross-examination of other parties through the chair within reasonable limits to prevent an abuse of the process. For the record, an aggrieved party is defined in the land use ordinance as a person who can demonstrate a particularized injury resulting from the approval or denial of the application. An injury shared equally by all residents of the town does not constitute a particular injury. The application materials and staff comments have been made available in advance. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to receive public input on the application itself, not to provide a general explanation of the review process or ordinance requirements. These procedures are necessary to ensure fairness, protect due process rights for all parties, and allow the board to meet its legal deadlines for decision making. If you do decide to provide input, you need to please provide your name and address for the meeting record. Thank you. Okay, so now open it up for public comment.
Hi, I'm Jess Costa, 35 Brianna Drive. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. And we provided a letter to the planning board with our comments on the proposed solar project. And the Conservation Commission is excited about solar coming to Durham and support proposed projects that are consistent with our land ordinance for solar. There's a couple items that we wanted to address related to wildlife. The first one being hopefully incorporating time of year tree clearing restrictions to protect threatened and endangered bat species. And these time of year tree clearing restrictions would also be protective of breeding birds if the tree clearing could be conducted in the winter. So in our letter, we specified if there were no tree clearing between April 1st to September 1, that would be beneficial to breeding birds and bats in the forested project area. Then the second concern, and we realize that the wildlife fencing that's proposed is consistent with the town's ordinance standards. But since those were written, it's come to my attention that that type of fencing, that's a wire fencing that's 8 feet tall, that has, it's like 6 by 6 inch wire squares, can pose threats to wildlife, especially deer, in terms of entanglement. So deer can maybe not detect it, and they're running through forest and they run into the fence and get their heads stuck in the fence, can't get out, or they try to jump it and their foot gets stuck. So in our letter, we had some options for consideration and discussion if the planning board were open to that. And the first was if there would be, if it's for wildlife fencing and not for security purposes, if there could be no fencing at all, or a different type of fencing that would be less of a risk to wildlife, like entirely wooden fencing, or if the project moves forward with wire fencing, if it could be all smooth wire, no barbed wire, and then be marked with flags, pretty set intervals, so that deer have a better chance of detecting it when they're running through the forest. So, yeah, that's it for comments from the Conservation Commission.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? All right, I'm gonna close the public comment period. And we will move on to the substantive review.
Brian, can I ask a logistics question?
Sure.
In regards to comments that we hear,
Mhm.
during public comment, what's our process? Does it make sense to wait until the substantive discussion to discuss those comments, or does it make more sense to hit those at the time?
Yeah, I think as we roll through this, and George, correct me about the process, but I think we hit these comments up as we go through the substantive review.
Yeah, I think it's better to address it and keep a clear separation between substance, because problem is if you discuss it during or immediately after the public hearing, you're rolling into the substantive review and elevating those public comments above all other considerations.
Got
So
it.
it's probably better to wait until you address those criteria and give the applicant an opportunity to respond to the public comments. So I'm sure it'll flow into the process.
Okay, what if we have questions
And you
regarding?
can ask by follow-up questions during that time.
Okay. So I did have a question relating to the Conservation Commission thing. So should Should we email those or something?
I think they can come up as we go through this next process.
Yeah, you can invite
Invite them
any
back to the
person
table,
who
okay.
has given public comment to clarify issues, but this ought not to be a
Back and forth.
iterative process where the Conservation and Commission or any other party
Right.
in the board discusses and arrives at a certain conclusion.
Okay,
Public comment is public comment.
yep. And then, so we're getting into the substantive of the conditional use. If the topic has to do with substantive site plan. And that might not come up for a while, we'll just table it.
Potentially.
Okay.
But again, these are specific design issues that probably should be considered as part of the site plan review discussion. The fencing design,
Right,
as opposed to the conditional use, which is more general.
okay. Okay. That's-
All right, so I guess at this time, if the applicant would like to come up and provide us with their presentation.
So I'm Jessie Hutchinson with Flycatcher, and I'm the agent for Pinkham Brook GLC Solar LLC. And
Jeff Martin with Norwich Solar, one of the developer for the project.
so at our last meeting, we kind of talked about completeness of the application. We got some comments at that meeting, requests for additional information, and we also since then had a site walk on July 20th to show the board kind of some of the steps we discussed as far as visibility and kind of just like the access area and the crossing of Pinkham Brook. And then we provided supplemental information and updated site plans to kind of answer some of those questions. So just a little overview. I know we've kind of talked about what the project is, but it's a 600 kilowatt AC solar project that's at 360 Pinkham Brook Road. It is set back off the road to kind of minimize visibility, and the solar array is sited in like a large upland area. It does require crossing of Pinkham Brook with the access road, and so they're planning to span Pinkham Brook with a bridge, and it's approximately 11 acres of the larger parcel that's being disturbed by clearance, and it does cross the shoreland protection overlay and the flood zone overlay along Pinkham Brook. So some of the additional information that we provided were proof of current property taxes, documentation that Norwich Technologies is the owner of Pinkham Brook GLC Solar, revised plans that included the proposed CMP easements, lease area, of site plan that has an aerial photo overlay, kind of making more clear the FEMA flood zone symbology and wetland impact summary. We also provided project cost estimates, details on transformer noise and how that will be kind of more minuscule and it's set back over 400 feet from any abutting properties. And also we had more discussion on the floodplain, the bridge height, in our response, and then provided a permit status matrix. I would note that since we provided the supplemental information, we have had a pre-application meeting with Maine DEP and with the Army Corps of Engineers. And both have pretty clear, pathways ahead for permitting. And one thing that kind of did come up is with the Army Corps is that because we are spanning the stream and we're proposing to clear in seasonal clearing windows, there's not really any concerns with endangered species, and that we won't have to go into like further consultation with the U.S. Fish or anything for that. We'll be in compliance with the nationwide permit for that. So that's kind of just updating where we're at, but if there's further questions or
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, let's get through the substantive review.
Starting with questions.
Yep.
So it sounds like, and I was gonna bring this up earlier, we had talked about, you adhering to the time of year restrictions before, and you had said, no problem. And you just, I think, said it again, right?
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons why you don't need to go further into, Fish and Wildlife in the state, wildlife reviews,
Mhm.
whatever. So I think that's great. And I do want to just flag that I think we had talked about May 15 to August 15 before. I know the Conservation Commission brought up April 1 to September 1, and maybe we can talk about that later on why those dates are different, but you did agree to May to August, right? Okay. Great.
yeah, that's a condition of our, federal permit.
Right, so it's something that you're gonna do.
Yep.
Which is great. Awesome. And then another question I have is, you said that the US Army Corps and the Maine DEP application process is pretty clear
Yes.
now. Can you explain a little bit further? on that?
Yeah, so for, while we're on the topic, for the Army Corps,
Mhm.
we're applying for a nationwide permit number 51, which is for land-based energy generation projects. So it's like a pre-construction notification that we would submit on their online RRS system.
Mhm.
And then I think it's like a 30 to 60-day review timeline there.
Okay.
And then with DEP, originally we will be applying for a NERPA permit application, but originally due to the fact that of the crossing, we thought in clearing within wetlands of special significance according to DEP, we were anticipating it would be a tier 3 permit, but they actually think that it should be, we should request a waiver and be a tier 1 and then a permit by rule for the
Okay.
crossing.
What's the
for them.
timeline on that approximately, you think?
Permit by rule is about 20 days. Once you submit, tier 1 is a little bit longer, probably around like 30 to 60.
2 months?
Kind of depends a little bit on the staff capacity. But we'll also kind of additional permits beyond that is stormwater permit by rule and the decommissioning plan approval. And sometimes they might like just kind of review those once everything's in.
Okay.
So
And are you close to being able to apply?
Yeah.
Pretty soon, yeah, okay. Speaking of that permit, I wrote this down because I hadn't heard of it before. Solar decommissioning law, what is that?
yeah, so I didn't hand this one to Dave, because he's pretty familiar.
Is a
with
main
the
It's a
thing, but
state,
it's
yeah,
a
it's a
state
state
requirement.
law that
Yes.
requires that all projects have a decommissioning plan
Okay,
and financial assurance in
Okay.
place prior to
who
construction.
who does it go through?
DEP.
DEP.
Okay. So you send the plan to them and they review it and
Yeah.
approve it? Okay, a
Yeah.
lot of states have that, I guess. I
Yeah.
didn't know. Okay, great, thank you.
And I guess who monitors that? Because the lease runs out in 20 years. So that's basically the life expectancy.
Yeah, so
Monitors the decommissioning plan.
Correct.
So that's DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection.
So they
So they have a requirement to review the cost estimate. I think it's after 10 or 15 years, it gets reviewed, and then every 5 years after that, there's a review process. So that cost estimate is updated throughout the life of the project.
Those are rolling targets, not a this is the end date type of thing.
Yeah, there's language in the decommissioning plan that specifies, when decommissioning has to occur, which is typically the end of the life of the project when the project's no longer generating.
Because that is part of the lease agreement. It specifically talks about the removal of the solar facility.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think we also require it,
Every town
Yeah.
requires that as
Do,
well.
right.
yeah, a copy of that.
Now, as far as the crossing goes, our codes officer slash road commissioner had expressed concern that it's 1 foot above the 100-year floodplain. Is that, I'm not an architect, but is that a common way to design those? Is there any concern from your side?
So it was designed by our engineer to meet the requirement for the town in your floodplain ordinance is like that 1 foot above the base flood for a 100-year flood stage. So that's like kind of how that was designed.
Yeah, no, I'd say that is quite common. And it was designed to meet the town ordinance.
I'm sure you're aware that 100-year storms are becoming more frequent than 100 years. So,
Yeah.
are these figures updated regularly? I'm not that familiar with who creates these maps.
The actual analysis
Mhm.
was done by our engineers.
No, I mean like who creates the actual floodplain that says this is the 100-year storm level. That was you guys did that.
So if FEMA kind of designates that area, in this area, it's not like they don't designate the specific base flood elevation. They do that in zone AE, but this is a zone A, so it's basically you have to kind of like model it based off of like HydroPad.
Yeah, makes sense.
There was a comment from the town planner about possibly providing a spillway on that bridge design, just in the event that it does go over the 100-year plan.
Yeah, so we're trying to kind of balance the meeting the ordinance with also like trying to minimize the impacts in the floodplain to wetlands and other kind of further impacts there. We can, bring that to the engineer to discuss more kind of that idea, if it's a concern of the town, but kind of as it is now, we've just been kind of designing it to meet the requirements that are in the ordinance.
Yeah, I think we're open to other ideas. Like Jesse said, we definitely have to consider impacts to that wetland in particular. It's a wetland of special significance. If the town has specific goals that they'd like to see accomplished, we can take that back to our engineers and see what might be able to be done without creating additional impacts in that area.
So let's say this crossing did flood. What would the impact be really? I mean, no one's going to this site on a regular basis. Is there any potential problems with that besides if there's a fire and we have to have people
It's
help
really
do that?
your risk,
Right.
Yeah.
right? It's really
it's
developer
a
risk here.
private,
Yeah.
Yeah.
private road,
Mhm.
private crossing.
There are issues, however, of downstream environmental impacts of a catastrophic flood, such as the one that happened in 2023 on Dyer Brook down on Route 9, where it washed out the whole stream crossing. So it really isn't a matter of increasing the impact. It's a matter of designing, as Brian mentioned, reflected in my notes, that basically the road is gonna create a partial damming effect in those over 100-year storms. So the question is, what happens to the water? The excess, and you can, if they at a low point create a spill of hardened spillway in it, then that kind of carries that excess and can prevent the type of washout. If you don't plan for that, then it can once it starts eroding the abutments, then the whole thing starts to go. So we're not talking about expanding impacts. What we're talking about is using engineering solutions to accommodate those larger storms with the current design.
There was a recommendation to have the independent reviewer take a look at this. And I think that makes sense. I would almost feel like that is absolutely part of their review, right? Like a project like this.
We can ask them to take a look at
Yeah.
this specifically during the technical review.
Yeah, I like that recommendation.
That corner has flooded in very recent history, so on the road, 1.5.
Right.
Finding a balance between, appropriate treatment without redesigning.
Right.
Things, I think it's doable, hasn't been done elsewhere.
Would you prefer us to come back with a proposal that's been reviewed, or what's your preference there?
So, my plan tonight is to get through this review and then send everything out for a technical peer review before we make any decisions on final. This way here, we can get our peer reviewers to provide their comment, have you all address it before we move on to final, so that we can see what kind of changes may or may not occur based on the peer reviewers' comments.
And just to clarify, there are two different actions here. There's a conditional use,
Right.
which may or may not require the peer review of that issue or the fencing or other issues. Just it's more of the use questions under the zoning. And then there's the specific site plan review. So theoretically, you could go ahead with the conditional use decision
Right.
tonight and then table the site plan review to get the peer review of the details.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
terminology. I meant
Yeah.
site plan.
And we've kind of jumped into the
Yeah.
site plan review, getting into this detail.
and that way you're not spinning your wheels on the site plan stage until you hear back from third-party reviewer. Yeah, and who knows what I guess there's a chance they could come back and say, great design,
Absolutely.
So.
Don't
That
listen to
makes-
town planners.
While we're on the staff notes section here, I did want to just say publicly that the site walk was on July 20th. I'm sure you probably saw that already, George, but we do say June 20th in here,
Oh,
but it
sorry.
was July 20th. Yep.
Missing in action.
Could I actually ask Jess a question about the comment that you brought up, or your comment from the Conservation Commission? 6x6 grid, is that what's proposed for your fence? Does it say that? Or
It's 8x8 on their proposal.
I didn't see anything.
I
I didn't
did.
see, okay,
It's on there.
The detail.
It's-
it's 8x8.
It talks about a wildlife fence and it's 8 foot and the gaps are 8-inch square,
So,
Yeah.
so the grids are 8x8.
right?
Okay, and that is pretty good size.
And I didn't see there was no indication of any barbed wire.
Yeah, and I know that
The
this
land
is.
use
yeah.
ordinance
Six, though,
requires
so-
it for security, is really. what-
Oh, yeah, no, we need a
Oh,
fence.
yeah.
I mean, we need they need their fence.
It's in the
But
mirror
it's
that-
the grid, the size of the grid, right? You can go smaller if that would be better for wildlife. You're leaving a space at the bottom
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, it's
So
really
would
Yeah, it
that-
is 6 inch.
Is it six?
Yeah,
Six
it's,
by six?
Well,
So
is that the
that-
gap at the bottom or is that the
So it's
grid?
a 6 inch gap at the bottom, but in the grid, it's a 6 inch fixed
I
knot.
think that's
Okay, so
two
6 by
different
6.
places.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's 6 by 6, but there is also the 6 inch,
Yeah.
gap for smaller wildlife passage, and that's like
I don't know if the 6 by 6
standard
is typical.
requirement from my.
Is that
Yeah,
typical?
it is.
Okay.
It is, yeah.
There's no plans to use barbed wire.
No
Right,
barbed
Don't use
wire.
barbed wire.
No.
Good, okay.
Can I just follow up on that?
Absolutely.
Is there any chance you would consider lowering that to 7 foot tall?
I think I mean, it really just comes down to what's required. And so there's, there's National Electric Code, there's the town requirements, and then trying to think if there's any other area where that would.
IFW has recommendations,
Yeah.
and so that's.
One of them is to 7 foot tall.
Okay.
I know we require it. Just trying to address the Conservation Commission's comments and the Department of Fish and Wildlife's comments. They say if you go down to 7 foot, that may help deer jump over the fence.
Might be 12% cheaper too.
Yeah, I know it's a security issue as well, so if
Yeah.
you're okay with dropping it to something to consider. And then getting back on the tree clearing, sorry to
No, no,
go
no.
back a few
No.
steps here. Would you be amenable to going to September 1? Is it September 1?
Yeah, we had
April 1st
said
to September.
April 1 to September 1?
September 1. And the reason, it's expanded beyond the bats, some birds start nesting early in the season, before May. Some of the local birds, like chickadees and woodpeckers. So, if that window could be expanded, it'd be more protective of birds. And then I didn't quite catch, if you were going to agree to August 1,
15th.
or August 15th. But August 15th would be better because, so the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has their summer bat survey guidelines, and that survey period for roosting bats is May 15th to August 15th. So that's when they're breeding. That's the peak breeding period. So, but maybe you did say August 15th.
Yeah, they had agreed to earlier May 15 to August 15. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, the expanded window, I would prefer if that's not a requirement. We could certainly try to accommodate that, but that is, it's a 5-month window. That could really impact the project potentially. I don't think it would be an issue, but I just would prefer to have that not be a requirement.
Would the conservation be okay with, May 15 to August 15 with the applicant trying, to adhere to the more strict?
Yeah, I think that's what the federal guidance is, so that's great for bats. And if it can be expanded, May 1, doesn't have to be a requirement, but if the project is keeping in mind the best management practices for birds and bats, that's totally acceptable to and the Conservation Commission would be happy about that.
Great.
All right.
But yeah, let's talk about the fence.
Thank you for the accommodation on that.
The fence. So do our thing ordinance says, what's the height of it? Sorry, I'm trying to find it. Does it say 8 feet?
Yes.
Okay. So it says 8 feet. That does not mean we can't change it, but we,
Actually, I think you need to be cautious that we
okay, so maybe.
cannot change it. And
Okay, so we do say 8
let's
feet,
just
so we can't
clarify.
change.
There are 4 different parts to this. There's the initial use, there's the site plan review, there's the shoreline zoning, and there's the floodplain. Okay, so the site plan review part, you have waiver authority over everything in Article 8 with supportive evidence. You do not have waiver authority for the solar standards at this point.
Okay.
So, just based on past input from the town
Okay.
attorney, she would caution you against giving de facto waivers of standards.
Okay.
And again, part of it is to protect the legal integrity of the permit that you issue. So, she would caution against it where you don't have specific waiver authority, don't think about it.
Okay. So in other words, we can't change that 8 feet height.
I don't think so.
It's gotta be 8 feet. But I do think we don't get into detail on like the grid and other things like that. So if, I don't know, 6 by 6, Jess, I'm not sure, like, that's typical. I mean,
That is typical, and I shared those photos of some of those poor deer that get stuck, and it's something that's happened at projects in Maine that use that type of fencing. Deer getting stuck and either not getting their antlers out or their feet are in and their head are in, and they're stuck, and that's how they end up, and it's not a good way to go. So if there's a way, if the fencing has to be there, and that's those specifications, maybe something could be added, like some, not just flagging that's gonna blow away, but like some placards that could be like zip tied to it that sort of flap in the breeze, at set intervals, that help the visibility for deer. Maybe that would be a good, compromise that wouldn't be expensive, like changing fencing type would be.
Yeah, we could incorporate, I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Jess, but, flagging or something along the fencing to make it more visible. We can do that.
Yeah, and one thing I'll note too is like, there is like clearing proposed beyond just the fence line, so there will be like cleared area set back from the edge of the fence, which will help like, so there won't be, you know, like trees that are obscuring it and vegetation against the fence, so hopefully that'll also make it a little more visible to wildlife, because it'll be in like a more cleared area rather than like when they're coming directly out of the woods.
And one last thing, maybe it's something that's reflective to light, because deer are pretty active at night and at low light periods, so maybe some kind of reflective material would help.
okay, I think those are some good talking points here. The reason I wanted to bring it up now and not during site plan is because Jess is here with the Conservation Commission comment. I thought it would be good to understand where that comment was coming from, so I think you've got good thoughts, direction there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Jess.
You're not proposing cameras out there. I mean, you don't remotely look at these spaces.
No, not typically.
Okay.
It depends on ultimately the system owner if that's something that they would like to have, but it's not something that we typically propose.
You mentioned system owner. Who's that gonna be?
At this point, we don't know. It's too early on in the process. We own about a third of the projects that we develop.
Yep.
The remainder we will finance, sell to a third party,
Okay.
independent power producers.
Yep.
Our company, as I said in the first meeting, we do the development work. We also are the installers, and then we have a division that's responsible for operation and maintenance. So we're with the project, whether or not we own it. But at this point, it's just too early on in the development process to know who the
Okay.
ultimate owner would be.
Yeah, just note the ownership change we have in our ordinance. I can't remember, 30 days, 60 days,
Notice.
something. A notice of that, yeah.
Okay.
One comment that was brought up in our staff notes, CMP access. I thought it was a really good comment. It would be, I think it would be great to hear from CMP that they do agree and approve of your access in and the pole layout and the line, pole and line layout. I think that would be good to get something in writing, like just a, yep, good to
Yeah.
go. I
Yeah.
know it might not come until later.
Right,
But
exactly.
I still think that us seeing that,
Yeah.
that it matches with what you've got on your site plan, I think would,
Yeah, they
Makes sense.
they tend not to engage until a little bit later.
right.
So we did at request that they sign off on the hammerhead turnaround.
Yep.
But we didn't get a response. So once
Yeah.
we get a little further along, then we'll get into the actual design work with CMP.
Yeah.
We can provide that.
Yeah, okay, and we could just keep it as a condition too, if it comes later, ahead of
Would it be a condition
construction,
of a building permit?
construction start or building permit, whatever. I'd say construction start, but,
Bring the permit first.
right, you do need
Yeah.
a permit, but even if it doesn't come in by then, well, yeah.
I think, yeah, I think by the time we pull the building permit, we should be
Yeah.
able to get that.
Okay.
Sign on.
Regarding the road, and this gets kind of ties into your emergency management plan. The road, it's either going to be need to be named, or an address on a pole is going to be required out there. I'm not sure the best way to handle that. You might want to talk to our road commissioner, who is also our code enforcement officer, to determine. So if I call 911 and say
Yeah.
there's a fire at the solar farm,
Yeah.
right? Like, where am I going?
You have an address.
Right, or a street name. We know how it works with subdivisions, but again, this is the first time we see a solar array out there, and it is a, decent, quite a lengthy road.
Typically, we'll get a E911 address
Yeah,
closer to construction.
okay. Yeah, something that needs to be worked out with our internal folks as well.
The lot itself isn't actually subdivided, right? It's leased from an owner,
No.
so it doesn't have its own address. How does that even work?
Mm.
Yeah,
You would probably give it a street address.
the street, yeah.
It's 8:30, right? Nobody physically lives at 8:30, right? You don't think?
Or it's 360.
Yeah, 360.
360, I'm sorry.
Right.
Which.
There is a house on the property where
It's
it's
360,
yeah.
okay.
Silo and the,
What they do is they typically go 50-foot increments along the road.
Right.
Wherever that number would come out, that's what they assign for the address.
Okay.
even if it's the same lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing that's mentioned in our staff notes is a comment about the final construction plans. I can just read this. Applicant proposes submitting the final plans with building permit application. I just wanted to point out that in our ordinance, if there's any change to the project, you will have to come back. So whether we decide that we need to see the final ahead of our approval or not, if things change, you'll have to come back and we'll have to review things that change. So it's in your best interest to submit the final site plan, right?
Is there a definition of change? Like what?
Great question. So it's in our thing twice. It's in our ordinance twice, I believe. One, it's under our solar specific ordinance that says, I think I wrote it down with page. It is on. 108, letter L, sorry, of our ordinance. And I don't think it gets into the detail of the change,
Okay.
but then it's in our site plan standards and it talks more about minor versus major change. So that was actually something.
They use called the minimus. So if it doesn't affect anything, then typically the code officer, road commissioner.
Right. If it doesn't
Deal
affect
with that.
anything that we have reviewed and
Yeah.
approved, which is
It wasn't
almost
part of the
everything
basis
of the
planning
project.
board decision. That's a key question.
So anyways, I'm just saying, it would be in your best interest to submit the final plan set. Or else you might need to come back if there's any changes. So, but we can talk further about whether we want to require final plan set or not.
Agreed.
Okay.
So I think one of the staff notes we haven't touched on yet was the transformer noise. No one hasn't been selected yet, but I think you have provided us with some preliminary specs that said it was at 58 dB, which exceeds our noise ordinance. Ours is 55 dB, but you're 400 feet from property line, so I think we're going to be all set with that. One thing I did want to mention is your pad, the concrete pad that's currently designed for the transformer, doesn't address containment. So the transformer right now, you're saying is going to be liquid. I don't know what kind of liquid, what kind of oil will be there, how much oil will be in it. But the pad should be designed to have containment in the event that the transformer does leak. This is protecting our water quality here.
Now, the noise ordinance, the 55, that's at the property line, right? It's not, because I could go outside and play a speaker, 60 decibels, but as long as my neighbors aren't,
Right.
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I imagine 58 at the site, it's probably quite quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere to like a refrigerator.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
People, dishwasher, yeah.
Or this, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yep. Are the panels fixed,
Yes.
and are they, do they have the ability to be remotely changed in tilt?
Nope.
So that's it. Once they're in, they're set, won't exceed 15 feet.
Correct.
Okay. Transformer EV, so it's running through my comments here. Yeah.
So do you anticipate that the access road will be gated?
Not the access road itself. The project obviously has a fence around it that's gated. But the access road we don't anticipate.
Which will be on the opposite side of the brook.
Correct.
Okay. And who has access to that in case there is a fire?
So there's a Knox box lock
Okay,
mechanism on there, so that the fire department could.
has access to
Yep.
that.
It's a good question about the gate. So the gate is proposed to be. There's taking forever.
On the other side of the brook.
On the other side of the brook.
Right.
Which I guess makes sense, because you don't want a fence all the way. That'd be a big fence.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good point.
One of the issues the fire chief had raised was needing multiple points of access into the fencing, so that if there's a fire at the part where the gate is, if you only have one gate, they want to be able to access it from multiple places. At least that's what I recall from our discussion.
Access it as an individual or like a vehicle,
Yeah.
because I imagine it's probably one ingress anyway.
Yeah, I think, so you might want to get clarification from the fire chief. But I do recall he was saying they need access from more than going into the fencing.
Usually we get a comment from him, right? In
Yeah, I
writing.
talked to him today and he has reviewed the emergency management plan. He's talked to the applicants on multiple occasions and they have agreed apparently to provide some equipment to be able to get in there regardless of whether the road is blocked or not.
And training too, I think he said.
Yeah, and
Yeah, which is
training
great.
is required, so they've had discussions about all of that, but we need to see what is actually proposed with the fire chief saying, yes, no, I agree to those proposed things, so I did talk to him today, and he's prepared to do that, if you ended up getting a peer review, he could provide his comments at that point in time, so if you could follow up with fire chief and just make sure he's comfortable. Maybe the gate is so far away from the panels that if there were a fire, but could be grass fire too, so I think concern with being able to get in there from multiple points as opposed to just one single gate.
Yeah, at our last meeting, George, the chief was here.
Yeah.
And he seemed pretty good with everything.
Yeah, I thought he had
Yeah.
signed off on it, but,
Okay. Yeah, I just recall
Yeah.
that you brought that up. Right.
Yeah, that would be,
Might have been on the battery energy storage, which is real big.
that would make more sense,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, yeah, definitely confirm with him. Another gate on this project. I don't know where they'd come in.
So you haven't seen that on other solar, George?
No.
No, okay.
No,
No, in the event the fire chief is, yay or nay on something like this.
Yeah,
Is
let's-
it following an ordinance
Now that I
or is it
recall-
more
Yeah,
on
now
like
that I
feelings?
recall, it was on battery.
storage,
Because
yeah,
of the
multiple,
Intensity of those
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah, those fires can get pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the issue here is that whether or not they can get around through the
Right.
panels to the,
Yep.
and they've got the 5 foot buffer outside of the fence on the outside, so they can get around on the
yeah,
outside.
exactly, yeah.
So, yeah. And lighting is not determined yet, whether or not there will be lighting there. Is that what I understand? There may
There
be
won't
some
be. Yeah, no.
maintenance lighting there, or,
Just like if a maintenance crew was
Yeah.
there and had to like be working on something at night, they would have like a temporary light going,
No
but no
permanent lighting.
permanent.
okay, so
Lighting.
something they flip a switch to turn on, not something that's on constantly?
Yeah.
yeah, not,
Okay,
no, definitely not.
okay. Any other questions on the conditional use?
I'm good, Brian.
Good.
All right. So let's go through the findings of fact here. So George has put together these findings of fact, and there are 7, is that George? No,
There were 8 criteria.
8.
for conditional use, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
So 8, yeah.
okay.
You may just want to brief the board on the process that we discussed finally.
Yeah, another somewhat new process, but George outlined the criteria and some comments for each conditional use criteria. And we'll just go through each one and add edit comments as we need to. Then once we get through, in this case, the 8 of them, we'll move to a motion on the conditional use permit. So I'll just run through these real quick. I'm not going to go through every findings. You all have had a chance to see these and review these as well as the applicant. So number 1, public health impacts. The proposed use will not create unsanitary or unhelpful conditions by reason of sewage disposal, emissions to air or water, or other aspects of its design or operation. And there are 7 findings of facts. Does anybody have any additional edits or comments to those 7?
I think you brought up a good point about containment on the transformer. I think that would
Mm,
be appropriate here.
right.
So in addition, we'll add number 8. George, are you catching this?
Yeah.
Okay, so finding number 8, that depending on the type of transformer that's selected, the concrete pad should include containment for any leakage. Number two, traffic safety impacts. The proposed use will not create unsafe vehicular or pedestrian traffic conditions when added to existing and foreseeable traffic in its vicinity. And again, we have 7 findings of facts. Are there any additions or edits to these? Seeing none, we'll move on. Public safety impacts. The proposed use will not create public safety problems which would be substantially different from those created by existing uses in the neighborhood or require a substantially greater degree of municipal services than existing uses in the neighborhood. And we have 8 findings. Any additions or edits to that?
Yeah, maybe add something about, fire chief expected to submit a comment. Or, right? 'Cause I don't think we,
That's 5, finding 5.
5 says it's. The applicant states that the fire
Okay,
chief,
yeah, that's what you're saying.
right, we talked about getting something in writing from the fire chief, which is typical for these, you know.
Okay. Any others? Number 4, environmental impacts. The proposed use will not result in sedimentation or erosion or have an adverse effect on water supplies. Any additions or edits to this criteria?
You want to put the engineer peer review here? Is that?
Yes, yes, I think that's great
For the bridge?
for the bridge,
Okay.
What if
for the
a spillway
floodplain,
was
yeah.
needed or not? Yeah.
Yep, we can add that. Number 5, scale and intensity of use. The proposed use will be compatible with existing uses in the neighborhood with respect to physical, size, visual impact, intensity of use, and proximity to other structures. And we had 10 findings here. Any comments or edits?
I would like, if it's not in here, I don't think it is that, during the site walk, it's apparent that you are not gonna be able to see this site at all. So,
They're connected.
Yeah, it's quite a hike.
yeah, it's fully forested surrounding it.
Number 6, noise and hours of operation. The proposed use will be compatible with existing uses in the neighborhood with respect to the generation of noise and hours of operation. 7 findings of fact here. Any comments? No? Number 7, right, title, or interest. The applicant has sufficient right, title, or interest in the site of the proposed use to be able to carry out the proposed use. 6 findings here. Questions, comments, edits?
No additional comment.
No, we talked about if, you know, the owner does change the process there. We talked about that. I don't think we need to list it here.
Okay. Number 8. Financial capacity. Financial and technical ability, sorry. The applicant has the financial and technical ability to meet the standards of the section and to comply with any conditions imposed by the planning board to subsection 7.5. 7 findings here.
Actually, I have a question. Do you all know who's gonna build this yet?
Almost certainly would be us.
It will be
We've-
you.
We've.
Norwich.
Yeah, Norwich,
Okay.
we've built, I can't think of a project that we've developed that we haven't built.
Okay, okay.
I don't wanna guarantee that, there's
Okay.
always the chance that there wouldn't be, but, yeah,
Okay.
like I said.
All right,
So-
cool. Thank you.
Okay, section 7.5, conditions of approval. Now, George, we talked about this briefly, so please chime in here, but this is for our vote. We've been through all of the conditions here. So based upon the foregoing findings of facts and conclusions, the planning board has identified the following proposed conditions of approval prior to final action on the application. The applicant shall be afforded an opportunity to state on record whether these proposed conditions are acceptable or whether any conditions should be modified or clarified. The planning board may amend the proposed conditions of approval prior to taking final action once adopted by the planning board. The conditions of approval shall become part of the final approval decision. So we've been through our findings of fact. We've made some edits and comments. Do you all understand and agree to what we've discussed? Okay.
I'll make a motion to adopt the findings of facts, conclusions, and conditions of approval as amended and grant conditional use approval to Pinkenbrook GLC Solar LLC for proposed Pinkenbrook solar project subject to the conditions of approval contained here.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you.
And just for the record, the applicants did affirm acceptance of the draft conditions of approval. They nodded. but-
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. We have it on video. So, site plan review, as I stated, we're going to send this out to our peer review team. So I think we're gonna hold off on any site plan review or any, decision on the site plan until that's been complete.
Can I ask what the peer review team exactly would be reviewing? Like the entire site plan application, or are there specific aspects of the application that you have questions about and want to be reviewed? Just want to understand the scope.
Yeah, you brought this up recently.
I did,
What-
yeah, and actually,
George provided.
we are
us with
more,
a-
usually more formal. We do usually have a list of specific things that they do look at. I don't have that in front of me right now, but like, definitely the bridge.
Yeah. Well,
Flood,
whatever the issues are for the site plan review, the subdivision, typically we have a preliminary approval. And that lists what you want.
Yeah.
Here, we'll just have a one-step site plan review
Right.
decision.
Yeah.
So whatever the issues are, like obviously this is the first solar energy system and we've got all these standards.
Yeah.
Nobody in this room or in the town offices has any expertise on the equipment.
Yeah.
The connections, we do have an electrical inspector, but typically, I'm assuming these are done by state inspectors. The local CEO is not qualified to review this type of an installation. They typically don't do any commercial. It's all done by the state. So obviously the solar energy standards being met would be one issue, and I think the other one was the stream crossing.
floodplain,
and
yeah, the
flood.
bridge, yeah.
Yeah, just that issue of the flood only being 1 foot above the elevation. They may say, hey, that's standard and you can't really go beyond that. You shouldn't go beyond that. Again, or they say, yeah, putting in some hardening and a spillway makes eminent sense for everybody.
Mhm. Yeah,
And I don't know if there are any other issues.
yeah. I think the company that it will go to is very knowledgeable, I believe, about these types of things, so it's not new to them. But yeah, this is our first project, so.
And you can work through George with obtaining contact information for the peer reviewers.
Okay.
Actually, I have a question. So if this is gonna go to the peer reviewer now, what about any changes? Is there any changes that you wanna make ahead of that?
Well,
Or
from what I
like,
understand, they receive the meeting minutes
Yep.
from tonight's meeting.
yep,
They review it technical
Okay,
issues.
okay.
And
no,
they
great.
cross-reference our land use ordinance.
Yep.
It's pretty thorough.
Make any edits you want, then it goes to peer reviewer. Great. So if there's anything you want to change ahead of that, you can do that, I guess,
That's right.
right?
Yep.
Yep. Great. And how long does that process take, George?
They've
usually?
been very good. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know if they have the in-house expertise on solar or not.
They do.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So typically, and you know, getting back to the issue of any new submissions have to be done, and it's 2 weeks before the meeting. So hopefully they could do a peer review. Obviously, if they get their application to Coral Palmer ASAP, they can typically turn it around fairly quickly. So, and hopefully that'll be ready by that 14-day deadline for new information to be posted.
For the next meeting.
Yep.
Yep. So,
So you'll connect us with
I'll
the,
give you their contact information. They've already, they are expecting any applications to come. So just send them a cover letter or an email to, it's now JLZ, I think it is.
Yeah.
LJB.
Yeah,
You know.
they got bought out.
yeah, you know, they know them.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they got them.
okay. And so the review will be on the solar energy standards and the stream crossing.
Okay, so we'll table
Motion
B.
table.
motion, I'll make that motion to table B, the substantive review of Pinkenbrook GLC Solar Energy System Site Plan Application, map 4, lot 85.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next
Next.
on the agenda, new business. Completeness review of Ivy Ridge final subdivision application. 335 Newell Brook Road, tax map 5, lot 61. Is the applicant with us? Good evening.
Good evening. Am I good to start?
Hey.
Yeah, I think we're good to
Okay,
start.
great. My name's Craig with Acorn Engineering, and with me is Hunter, also with Acorn, and Johnny from Ribby LLC is in the audience if there are any specific questions for him. So since the preliminary approval, we did get a chance to go through all the different preliminary conditions of approval, and we addressed those. And some of those involved obtaining the vernal pool sign off from Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to demonstrate that the vernal pool that was found on site is in fact non-significant. We obtained an ability to serve letter from Casella for the solid waste removal. Some of the peer review comments that we received were minor in nature, addressing some of the detention based in some of the HydroCAD model, and there were some differences between the plan and what was depicted in the HydroCAD. So we cleaned that up. They recommended an additional drainage easement on lot 1 for the culvert crossing, so we went ahead and added that. We labeled the concrete monuments on the plan, and we identified the 50-foot buffer strip along the front, along Newell Brook Road. We updated the tree line and we identified tree save areas throughout the project. we updated the technical capacity section of the application. So those are the main changes to the plans in the application material. There were some other minor, small preliminary approval items, but all seem to have been addressed through the application material in the plan set.
Would you mind, Craig, going through each one and just so that we can make sure that just go through 1 through 15 and point out to us where in your
Sure.
application all of these have been addressed, please?
Sure.
But
So
actually, sorry, before you do that, can I also ask another question?
Sure.
Did we get, you got the review back from the
Yes.
engineering, now where is the
It's in the
comments?
packet.
Yeah.
Oh,
so that they signed off. We had two rounds of back and forth with them.
okay,
Generally minor comments, and they signed off on July 15th.
finally signed off.
Yes.
So good to go there. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
So that's number 1
Perfect.
of the conditions of approval.
Good.
Number 2 is about the performance guarantee.
So let's just.
Yeah.
So 1A,
Okay.
they reviewed the engineering design, road construction, utilities, review of engineers' construction cost estimates for the project. You can just point where in your application we can find these and just address them each, please. So 1A,
1A is through the plan set.
okay, 1B,
We provided as part of the performance guarantee. Well, I guess is that comment related to the performance guarantee or cost estimate? Cost estimate.
I can clarify that.
Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
so they are proposing a conditional agreement
Yeah, thank
whereby they are not allowed to sell any lots or get any building permits for any of the lots until they've completed the infrastructure. Unless they come in with a performance guarantee for whatever improvements are remaining. So like on Deer Creek Crossing, they took the restrictions off with an amended plan and maintained 75,000 for the final paving. And some other minor changes. So until they come back to get the release of the restrictions, there is no performance guarantee for the infrastructure. However, the ordinance does require that they provide the town with an estimate. And the peer reviewer has confirmed that $10,000 is adequate if the project is abandoned. And you got a built road out there with no erosion control measures, that's enough for the town to go out and stabilize that site. So that's all that's required under a conditional use agreement. And Goral Palmer did confirm that they are okay with that number.
okay, I'm gonna hold your comment.
Yep.
Until, let's continue on to, D, or C, I'm sorry. Yeah, we had a comment about, the individual lot building envelopes. And I think you guys have done a pretty good job of, adhering to the cluster subdivision.
And we have a pretty detailed table on lot sheet C10. It's called the lot usable area table, and that's where those calculations are provided.
Okay. An individual.
Review of the individual lot site plans. So that was something we were seeking like a condition of approval for that the peer review engineer agreed with. And that was one of their comments in the July 15th that they agreed with, that individual lot site plans really weren't needed. They didn't think it was needed for this project. So they agreed to a condition of approval that would be, I think, before the building permits, that
Yes.
the builder will have to identify with the house locations. And the peer reviewer agreed with that.
Okay,
Number 2, I think we kind of discussed how we're handling the cost estimate and performance guarantee for this project.
yeah, so, the 10 grand was only for erosion and sediment control. Right?
Yeah.
So we asked for access road construction, electrical service, stormwater management system. So it looks like you've only provided cost estimates for one of the 4 that we had asked for as a condition of approval. I didn't see any other cost estimates other than the erosion and sediment control. And yes, they agreed that 10 grand was sufficient for
Yeah.
erosion and sediment control, but no other cost estimates were provided.
And I think where that comes into play is beyond the performance guarantee, there's the question of the financial capacity to do the project.
I'm just getting back to the fact that these were conditions of approval that I haven't seen, that they're not part of this package right now.
I'm looking through the application now that we had. The financial capacity doesn't specifically list an amount. I mean, could we provide that as a condition of final approval?
Oh, right now, let's just say that it's incomplete. And let's move on to the next one. So 3.
We submitted the final app within the 6 months.
Okay. Number 4.
We don't need we need a main construction general permit prior to construction, once a contractor is chosen for this site.
So this is looking for approval from the main DEP for a NERPA stormwater and wetland alteration permit.
Yeah, we don't,
There's no wetland
There
impact,
is-
right?
and we don't require a DEP approval. So it's kind of a condition that's not really applicable. And the peer reviewer did agree that a main construction general permit would apply here.
Do you agree, Julia?
Yeah, I do
Okay.
know that there's no impacts.
Okay.
We did a great job avoiding impacts. I do know that.
The erosion and sedimentation plan is included within the final plans, so we do have erosion control measures labeled. We have notes and details for that. So that addresses number 5.
Yep.
On the site plan, we identified the tree save areas, lot clearing limits. One item, number 7, I never got feedback from the addressing officer on the road name. I did reach out, but never heard back.
Okay.
So that is a pending condition of approval, just because I haven't heard back. And I did send the request in June.
When did we have a changeover in CEO, George?
Probably about that time.
About that time, I just wonder whether it.
No.
Because there was a changeover.
Yeah, the middle right now.
Note number 9.
Pete said, with the whole package for 17.
Where'd you find it?
Sorry, can you give us just a minute? I'm trying to find a document.
Okay,
Here.
go to
Okay.
town's website.
Yeah. Okay.
View, there we go, packet PDF.
Okay, thank you.
So-
No, I
so-
can find it. Thank you. Sorry about that. Please continue.
Note number 9.
Okay, 7. All right, yep, 9.
So we do show the driveway, the home locations, the septic, the well, the tree clearing needed. But I want to note that those locations that are shown are for illustrative purposes only. Prior to construction, there will be a building permit pulled on a lot by lot basis, and that at that time, the house location, house type, all those details will be worked out as part of that building permit application.
Okay.
The technical ability section was updated. That was a comment of the planning board at the last meeting. And we do have a financial capacity letter within the application, and I believe that was section L of the application.
F,
F, thank you.
document F anyway.
Thank you. Switching between PDF
That'd be
and
fun.
So, okay,
we
this is
did.
May 7th, 2006 letter from Bath Savings. Is that the
Let's see.
financial capacity letter?
2006,
2006, I'm sorry. Yes.
26. Yeah.
26.
26, okay.
So, yeah. Okay.
We did include, for this, now we're on to number
11.
11, thank you. DEP stormwater permit. So again, the DEP stormwater permit, stormwater law doesn't apply here.
You're getting a general permit,
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
okay.
the general permit. And that doesn't come until prior to construction of the roadway, when there's a contractor on board that will do that, then that general permit is filed.
I just want to back up to number 10. I don't consider this to be complete. Again, it was a construction cost estimate for the full cost of required improvements, including roads, utilities, fire ponds, stormwater management, and erosion and sediment controls, along with a letter of commitment from a lending institution referencing said letter engineer's cost estimates. And a letter from Bath Savings is very vague to me. It says, we believe Mr. Snell has the financial capacity for the subdivision, and approved financing will be contingent upon receipt and review of all financial information. So I don't find this one to be complete.
Since item number 2 wasn't complete, that one
Right.
couldn't be complete.
Exactly. Well, yeah, item 2 and the
Right.
financial capacity letter are not complete. Thank you. So number 12.
The final plan shall include copies of covenants, bylaws, so that was included as one of the last sections in the application.
And was this approved by the town attorney and reviewed and approved by our town attorney?
So can I clarify that? So the template that the town provides to applicants was reviewed and approved by the town attorney, and they pretty much followed that template, so,
Okay,
I think they have met that standard.
okay, great. Thank you.
Number 13, this is a cluster development with reduced lot size, so that was generally depicted within the plans. Number 14, again, getting back to the cost of the improvements. That was covered as George, I believe that, is that comment getting to what George covered for, talked about for the erosion and sedimentation control valued at $10,000?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, costs for all improvements are more than just sedimentation and erosion.
Yeah, I think at the time, they had not proposed the conditional agreement. So this was not, this would have been different if they had been proposing that at preliminary approval. So basically, they're substituting the conditional agreement and then the part of this for the erosion and sedimentation control. But again, that's a separate issue from the financial capacity.
Mhm.
But as far as the performance guarantee is concerned, being tied to the engineering estimate, I think that is met with their proposal. Just for the performance guarantee issue.
And has that been reviewed by the town attorney?
The town attorney review of the conditional
So
agreement.
it says here, number 14. Any other proposed performance guarantee must be reviewed by town attorney at the applicant's expense. So I'm assuming that's what we're talking about.
Well,
This is in lieu of,
yeah.
right?
That's
So
right.
has the town attorney reviewed this proposal?
The answer is, I can answer that, no, the town attorney has not reviewed it. And the premise is that under the ordinance, a conditional agreement, which is right in the ordinance, is approved by the town attorney. If they wanted to bring in a performance bond by a contractor, that would be the type of arrangement that would raise the need for a town attorney review. So either they do an irrevocable letter of credit using a template that's been approved by the town, or they do a conditional agreement, which is right in the ordinance. And I'm assuming they're proposing to put up a cash deposit for the $10,000 as opposed to some bond or something. So I think the conditional agreement doesn't raise the need for, and again, this condition was drafted without knowing that they were gonna
Right, exactly.
propose the conditional agreement.
So, addressing the board, there are a few things that were part of the, conditions of approval that have not been met as part of this final application. And they are, number 2,
Right.
Construction cost estimates for access road construction, electrical service, stormwater management. The other outstanding item is street addressing. And that's number 7. And number 10, engineers construction cost estimate, same as number 2, basically.
But on,
And then a letter from confirming financial capacity. So I guess my question is, are we comfortable with moving forward without these items complete? And there's still 3 months on the clock to have these ironed out.
I'm not comfortable with moving forward. We've asked for that information and it has not been submitted.
So we could table this until,
Actually, what you do is give a determination that the application is incomplete, you can write them a letter, as soon as they get the information, they can resubmit.
okay,
We do have we have 2 estimates from contractors, so we know how much it's gonna cost. But it looks like what you're looking for is a financial capacity letter that ties it to that amount.
That's right.
Right.
but
And-
your estimates are just for erosion and sedimentation control.
Yeah, but we intentionally didn't provide it, but we do have several estimates for the entire roadway being constructed.
Okay, that's not part of the package tonight in the letter.
And just to
financial
clarify, a proposed bid on the project by a contractor is not an engineer's cost estimate.
Yeah.
And there's a fundamental difference between the two.
There's a very big difference between the
Yeah.
two. Yeah. Okay, so is there a motion? Or would anybody like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we find this application incomplete. Ivy Ridge subdivision.
And should we base it specifically on the
On-
items that are
Yes.
incomplete?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Sorry, I didn't
Number
write all this
2.
down. Number 2, letter,
2 and 10 and 7.
but which letter? 2,
2A, B, and C
A, B, and C,
are incomplete.
and
10.
10.
10
7.
and 7.
But we have to, on the note on 7 and the applicant's defense, it appears that they submitted that, but we had a change in CEO personnel, and that may have been missed on the town's part.
Is that person the street addressing officer?
Yes.
Okay. Road commissioner? Road commissioner. Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
So that's on us for sure, but it's still missing,
It's still-
I guess, right? You still,
Yeah.
if there wasn't anything else.
That's the only
Okay, I'll
missing thing
repeat.
maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
2, A, B, C, 7, and 10.
10.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Quick question for George. To be on the next planning board, is that submission date in like 1 week, right?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks before the meeting, get that information in.
2 weeks before that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, and our meeting will be September 2nd.
Then when we come back, we just review those items, right? We don't have to review the whole thing again.
Correct. Right. Yeah. Yep, as long as those 3 are met, then we can
Move
vote
on.
on closing this.
Right.
Move on. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Too.
Okay, moving on. New business, number E. Sketch plan review of a subdivision plan amendment for a lot split on Winters Way, map 11, lot 41-B. Public comment will not be taken.
Hello,
Evening.
welcome.
My name's Evan Jones with Jones Associates.
Mhm.
This is the technical applicant,
Mhm.
Steve Bassett.
Mhm.
So what this is a sketch plan application for, it actually is a subdivision amendment. The previous land here was part of a subdivision in 1974.
Yeah.
There was another subdivision that was done in 2005 on this parcel, which was a lot in the 74 subdivision. That subdivision plan called this parcel remaining land, even though it was technically part of lot 2 of the 1974 subdivision. So even though it was labeled a lot split, it would be under the legal requirement, it would have to be a subdivision amendment to, at this point, 2 subdivision plans. So the 1974 plan and then the 2005 plan, which is the area that this lot was split out of. So what the applicant's proposing is to split that one parcel into 2 parcels. One of those parcels is his existing home site, and he's planning to build a home on the back of the parcel. But in order to do that, obviously it needs to be 2 separate lots. The access to the site is over Winters Way. There's currently one other house accessing on Winters Way, about 200 feet up that road, in addition to his existing dwelling. So this lot amendment would put that number of lots at 3 lots accessing off of Winters Way. So therefore, at least the first 200 feet of that road would be classified as a road and not a driveway. So one of the main points that we wanted to discuss with you folks is your town road standards have a maximum grade of 8% to those road standards. this entire road, existing road, because we're utilizing the existing road, and putting a turnaround at the end of it, is between 12 and 13% grade. So it exceeds what your current road grade standards are. So obviously, that's one of the main points we wanted to discuss with you folks tonight, and I think that that was run by the road commissioner, and they didn't see an issue with the increased grade on the road, particularly because it is a shorter grade distance. AASHTO standards, which is the highway safety transportation standards for like a 25-mile-an-hour road, usually that maximum grade allowance is between 12 and 17% for distances that are less than 500 feet. So we're around 400 feet for that grade distance. Your specific town road standards don't have that short distance allowance to increase grade slopes. So we would be seeking a waiver for your maximum grade slope, because this is an existing road on site and there's not really an opportunity to put the road in a different location. It's obviously a main requirement for us to use that road for 2 more lots or an additional lot up there. So with this obviously being a sketch plan application, the plan that we've provided to you is very basic. We haven't done a wetland delineation on the property yet. We obviously wanted to get through some of the road grade questions with you first. The rear of the property is in resource protection zone. And then the rest of the property is in both the rural residential / agricultural zone, which have a minimum lot size of 90,000 square feet. The lot where the existing house is on would be at 90,000 square feet, and the rest of the property would be with the raw land lot where the new house would be constructed. We're proposing to add a 60 by 120 hammerhead turnaround at the end of the road, because it's what fits best for a emergency vehicle apparatus turnaround within the area. So yeah, I guess with that, that's the gist of what we've submitted, and obviously looking to get a read from you folks as to whether or not a waiver for road grade standards is something that, provided the correct amount of information, you folks would grant, and what you would be looking for beyond. Obviously, the next step for us would be running that grade by the fire chief, sort of from a safety standpoint, making sure that the turnaround and road grade are okay for an emergency access and apparatus turnaround.
Sorry, you said you ran this by the road
We
commissioner
have,
already.
yeah, so road commissioner did not, based on staff review comments, road commissioner did not see an issue with granting him a waiver, but has not been run by the fire chief. Does see that correct?
Can you clarify on that diagram, the frontage? Is it lot 2 is the larger parcel, and is that owned all the way out to Snow Road?
Correct.
On the
So
side of that, who owns the fee to that?
the lot 2 would own the fee to the right of way.
Okay, currently it's all of part 1 and 2.
Currently, it's all part 1 and 2, and it was divided a little weird. Instead of leaving like a traditional 50 or 60 foot road right of way width for that back lot, they left 100 feet of road frontage. I think probably,
Yeah.
maybe so it would count as a lot.
And we get up the grade.
Yeah, so that, the lighter dashed line is the 60-foot easement, which would be owned in fee by lot 2.
Does that exist right now as an easement?
The road exists. The easement only exists in the form that it's shown on the prior subdivision plan as driveway access to lots, remaining land and lot 2, which would be the southerly rectangle.
So the other lot that uses it has an easement?
To be honest with you, I haven't read their deed, but based on the prior subdivision plan, they do.
It looks like there's a, potential easement off of Snow, right? Is that the one you're talking
Correct.
about?
Off from Snow.
To the northern one. To the upper
Uh,
right, not.
It'd be
northern,
actually be the
sorry,
southern,
northeast.
it'd be the southern one.
So this lot. has-
That lot
that
comes
has
off
driveway
right
somewhere
there.
Here, but
Right.
it looks like they don't. There's no direct
Yep.
goes across this, so.
That's
should-
about where their
You
driveway
should
is
check to
there.
make sure, and if it's not there, then part of this should be the granted easement.
Yeah, and obviously this is sketch plan.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
The reason why we're here.
We've,
exactly,
you know,
yeah.
There's a lot of notes that would have to go onto this to make it a subdivision plan. But yeah, you're correct. That what we would have to research that easement, and the way it's shown on the resulting subdivision plan would depend on how it was granted. So we may have to just show the area, because in looking at the previous subdivision plan, it was fairly vague when it came to granting that easement.
Right, this subdivision approval amendment can clarify. that.
Right,
And
yeah,
establish it for title purposes for everybody,
right.
because it may be a prescriptive easement.
Yeah, and that's sort of my understanding of what it is right now.
Yeah, it'd just be good to formalize that, and that clears everybody's title.
Yeah, and another thing with this that we're trying to clear is the fact that this is part of a subdivision. Because in initial research of this, you pull this plan from the registry, it has a different plan name than the 1974 plan. It's not labeled as amended plan of lot 2 of a certain subdivision. And it's also labeled as remaining land. The final subdivision plan name right now, it's obviously listed as sketch plan. I'm gonna have to talk to my surveyor about how he's gonna label that. He may end up labeling it amended plan of, and then have to list both subdivision
yeah.
plans. So yeah, a few obviously things that the subdivision plan itself would clarify over previous divisions.
Any comments from the board? And thank you.
So even though only, there's one existing, right? There's one existing
House, right.
house.
Yeah.
And one proposed or two proposed?
There's one proposed.
One proposed right now. So even though only two potential houses right now, there's room
Twin, 4.
for additional houses. Right,
They need to be further divided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, in the future, yeah, that would have to be an amendment to this amendment.
right.
But yes,
But exactly like what we're doing now, right? Like
You're
it's
right,
exactly,
right.
yeah. So I'm saying that it's not just two. Could be more.
Right. I'd say that the fact that lot 1 is set at 90,000 exactly, and not half of it, leaves that possibility open.
Where will lot 1 get its 300 feet of frontage?
So along the road coming up
That
and then
much snow
along
off of,
the hammerhead.
right?
So would it be from the,
Snow.
what's the lot down
That's
the
a railroad
lower
line.
corner that's not
Davis
part of
Road.
this?
Yeah, that was the
Off from
the
Boulder.
previous
Is
subdivision.
that
line.
from
Yes.
that corner over
Yeah.
to the hammerhead, or is
Yeah.
that all the way
That's
from?
Yeah, I think so.
Snow
I think
Road
that's
to the
right.
hammerhead?
No, that's from
There's
that
not a
corner
range down the
to
road.
where the lot line comes off at a
Oh.
diagonal.
Yeah, so that would be
Is that
300
right?
feet
I don't
all the
know.
way to
I don't
the
know
end.
either.
I'd like to see this.
Yeah.
Right, where that lot line comes off at a diagonal
Yeah.
from the hammerhead.
Yeah.
That's the
See,
end of the 300 feet for that lot one.
6.
So it's all, it's,
Yeah,
yeah.
and under the new ordinance, you can count
Right.
this size.
So stackable
Yeah, and that's something obviously we
around there.
took
Right.
had to
That,
take
that is
into
exactly
consideration.
300 feet.
Yeah, with the proposal, the new standards, obviously that wouldn't have been,
Yeah.
we would have had to adjust that under the old standards. Yeah.
You're pretty close though. I mean, where the proposed house is, it appears that there's wetlands. How would you access that proposed?
So the proposed access would come off from the sort of right hand or upper side of that hammerhead turnaround. Again, we haven't done a wetland delineation, so any wetlands on this would be shown on the final subdivision plans so that driveways could avoid them.
It's a tree line. Not what it is.
Yeah, that's a tree line. That's existing tree line. If you're looking at that, there's no,
Sorry, keep going.
no, yeah, the around the building envelopes and things like that is
see
existing
it.
tree line.
Okay.
That area is obviously because the grades is pretty high and dry. If I had to guess, obviously next to the stream is going to come up wetland, and then there's a little seep that comes up
Mhm.
through that may end up wetland for some of that
That's not
extent, but
snow.
that would obviously be shown on
That's all. What?
preliminary and final
Who's right next to the river?
plans.
Where's the floodplain here?
Yeah, so floodplain is roughly at the toe of that slope next to like
Which slope?
yeah, right there. So
Okay.
so
And so the last big flood we had, this whole area, I don't know how long you've been at the house.
I was there.
Okay, yeah. So did you flood in
No,
your?
we were high and dry. No,
Oh.
everything
Getting
where the
to it,
existing
though.
building is, that's not quite the high point, but that's very high. And
Okay.
then where the proposed building is I don't know,
it's about 20 feet higher
20
than
feet higher
than
than
the
the
floodplain.
floodplain itself. It
Yeah.
drops down
It's
very steeply
Okay,
down.
so you
to-
were dry there,
Oh, very dry.
both of those houses,
Well,
locations.
both those locations.
Yeah, okay. All
yeah,
right.
the existing houses. Oh god, that's gonna be 70 feet above the floodplain. It's
Were you like
fairly
an
steep lot.
island?
Yeah.
Like
no, no.
surrounded
Yeah.
by?
Yeah,
Burning
yeah,
house
we were,
here.
We parked the car, we took the boat.
it was a nice little vacation.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's around 190,
Or there's,
maybe a little bit higher.
Oh.
than that.
So is there any problem with the hammerhead leading right into the driveway? Like an emergency or fire safety concern? I think I heard that come up previously. That wasn't desirable.
It's not desirable, but I know historically there are some like that. And
Nothing against it. Yeah.
Our plan, obviously, with the preliminary, the next step for review would be, this has all been done off from state LiDAR data. So those slopes are estimated off from what we can pull from public data sources. We would create a more detailed plan of showing the hammerhead and grade sheets on it. So that the fire department would be able to do their review based on that and not this.
I can say that is really the only location for a hammerhead on that property. Because it slopes off on both both
Mm.
sides.
Yeah,
That's the flat.
we can't go any further, with the Hammerhead location, obviously, because without creating a lot of fill there.
Would
So
the
that-
hammerhead itself be fairly flat though?
Oh, yeah, the Hammerhead itself is very flat.
Okay.
And obviously it's there because that is the flat spot.
Yeah.
So, just trying to avoid, an extensive cut slope
Mhm.
there that would result in a lot of trees being cleared and filling. So that existing, once you get up on that plateau, it's a flat plateau. So.
So at this point, hopefully you just want to know if the board would entertain a
Yeah.
waiver on the slope.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if your fire department
Yeah, that's all.
and road commissioners are okay with what's presented, given the, how few houses are accessing and how short that slope distance is, whether or not the board would, entertain a waiver.
And it's already being used today anyway.
So can you explain a little bit more on the turnaround? How are you gonna get from the driveway to the house,
The proposal.
the proposed house?
There would be a new driveway down through there.
Okay, so we're just talking about the turnaround. I mean, the
drive.
the
So-
hammerhead.
We're just
road,
talking
really,
about
we're not
the
even
road.
That's
talking
it.
about the hammerhead.
Yeah,
Just to that,
Yeah,
not
the-
even
the
to that.
slope.
yeah,
like-
that would be a driveway.
Yeah,
So we're just talking about to the hammerhead. Yeah.
Hmm.
The road portion of, or what's considered a road, what is used by both lots.
and that's going up, obviously.
It's going up.
Oh, yeah.
So when it flooded, did that road flood? It did, right? No?
But-
The
well-
road in,
Snow road.
Snow
Snow
road.
Road did flood. Winter's Way did not.
okay.
Yeah, I think on the other side, if you're looking at that plan, the floodplain those contours get
Yeah, I see him.
there's a little islands there.
Yeah.
If you come in 2 contour intervals up from there, I think that's roughly where the floodplain is. So they're on a ridge here.
Yeah, the only spot on this piece of property that I own is that back corner. That corner
Mm.
on the plan.
So George, maybe a newbie question, but does the board have the authority to grant a waiver like this?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
This is subdivision, and what you should do is include that ASHTO information that you mentioned. Because that is the type of support documentation that helps justify it. So between the road commissioner and the ASHTO, if there's a specific
But we're not
engineering
maintaining it.
guideline
We're
that
about to-
talks about
the
it,
pitch
and that
of
was one of the issues.
degrees.
is It's one thing to have a couple of 100 feet of steep grade, it's another thing to have a quarter of a mile of steep grade.
How long is this?
400 feet to it is the sort of, well, pretty much the total length of the road to the turnaround,
Okay, like
Right.
500 feet.
400 feet.
But there's a road's already here right now.
Road's already
Just
there.
not a road.
It's not a road, it's
Yeah.
not being called a road because it does not serve more than three or more dwellings, so, yeah.
But it is it not a road?
It's a named driveway.
Driveway, right.
It's not
It's not a
maintained by the
private way.
town.
Yeah, for 911 purposes, it has a name. But for road design purposes, it's a driveway.
And from the staff notes, there's some discrepancy as whether or not it's.
Yeah, I think that was a
12.
typo. We have 12 Winters Way on our location information and then 11 Winters Way on its billing address, but they're both 12. I think we were
You get
getting,
paid. You still get paid if you send it to the.
yeah.
The only
This is,
1, 2, 3, 4 logos there.
this is tax map 11, and I think that's where the 11 came from on that.
Any other comments from the board?
No. Sounds like what George suggested would meet what you're asking. We can do it.
I think the one thing that maybe we haven't really talked about is if we do consider the waiver, do we want an engineer to review? Right? The steepness. or not.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, it's already there today in
It's
place.
publicly, it's not a public way, so why would we want an engineer to, they're gonna maintain it.
Yeah.
Not the town.
Right, but it's in our ordinance, right? The grade,
You can require peer review or not.
right, that's what I said, yeah. Why do we say 8 and not 12? Even if it's private? Because of
Well, there
safety
are a
reasons,
couple
right?
reasons, and at
Access
some
by-
point, you may want to
Higher
re-examine the
Mhm.
8% versus 10%, which is more typical. I'm not sure how that got stuck at 8%, but in
Yeah.
any case, the reasons for limits on road grades are to require developers, and think about if this was a major subdivision with
Right.
15, 20 lots,
Lots of vehicles.
rather
going
than
in.
altering the topography, force the developer to snake the road to work with the
Yeah.
topography, so that's one issue.
Just to make-
Maintaining the topography rather than cutting
Cutting
through
through
it.
it, yeah.
And then the second issue is the steeper the grade, the more potential there is for erosion
Mhm.
and washing out the road, so. And then obviously, safety of vehicles going up. That's an issue.
And from the erosion standpoint, that's something that we would look at addressing.
And maybe include some
This
BMPs
is-
or something.
Yeah, this is an existing road.
Yeah.
And I don't think you've had any issues with your ditches washing because they're all vegetated. But from a construction standpoint of the hammerhead and the changes to the road that will have to take place in the upper end to get everything to conform, we would obviously be submitting an erosion and sediment control plan for those construction activities.
Mm. And does this also change, like, say some of it is wet? Do we think any of it's wet or no? Like a wetland?
Of the lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I was saying, that back left corner.
Yeah, that's wet.
That's
right?
wet.
That's wet.
Maybe if you see there's a
Like a.
valley that
Yeah,
comes
right
up
here.
from there.
Yeah.
Yep, to the
Yeah.
left of the lot two words.
Yep. Yep.
If I was a betting man, I would say that wetland creeps up into there a little
Yeah.
bit, but I won't know until we get my
Yeah.
wetland scientist out there to do it.
But you don't think there's any wetland at all where you are? I know you're higher, but
I-
still.
Yeah, even the area that he's talking about is, in heavy rain is a drainage, but there's never standing water. of
Yeah.
any kind. I don't know how they determine what a wetland is,
Yeah.
but just looking at it, it's not been a wetland.
Okay. Because I do wonder if it was a wetland and your stormwater, like if that would change it.
You're seeing much more water now down that road.
Right,
not,
right.
Not particularly. I mean, I think the thing that would change what we're looking at here is if you were in the watershed of a great one or urban impaired stream.
Yeah.
Then we would be looking at whether or not we need to meet phosphorus standards.
Yep.
For that, but I'm fairly certain this is not in. I think this is in the Androscoggin.
Did you say that this was part of the remaining land of the 2005?
It is the
2006?
remaining land.
Okay.
So it was labeled as the remaining land, it shouldn't have been labeled as the remaining,
Right.
in my opinion, shouldn't have been labeled as the remaining land in that plan.
Yeah.
That plan probably should have been an amended plan of lot 2 of the
74,
1974 plan. But yeah, it was late. But for all intents and purposes, it was the third lot in that.
Okay.
It just wasn't labeled lot 3.
Okay. And this would be an amended. We're
This would be
talking
an
about
amended.
amendment, yeah.
Yeah. From a legal standpoint, this classifies it as a subdivision because it was in a subdivision. So.
Okay.
This is an interesting one.
Yep.
Just from a technical.
Well, when you sent me
legal
the plan
perspective.
initially, I said, no, you don't have to do subdivision review. That's,
I thought this was
that's
gonna
a
be
re-
easy.
that's labeled as remaining land, so it's not a lot in a subdivision. And then we did our deed research and found a 1974 plan that was a subdivision, and that's when, yeah, we realized that
Sins of your elders.
this is from a legal standpoint part of a subdivision.
Mhm.
So, because that night, September 20, that subdivision happened after September 23rd, 1971. They missed it by 3 years, but there is a cutoff date. So,
You be there for that one.
Well, if you're going to, essentially, there's gonna be a second home in there. Eventually, you're gonna want a road maintenance agreement too.
there we will have to submit a road maintenance agreement as part of the preliminary. Yep.
Mhm. I don't know about we talked about a peer review of the road, but that's what is gained from that, other than making sure the road is constructed properly, and you don't have issues in the future. I don't know.
I think they probably review the stormwater more than they. So, either.
Yeah, I would think we wait to see what the next submission looks like.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I
Yeah,
was
we
gonna say.
check out the details.
Yeah.
Obviously, the closer you can get it to 8 would be great. But yeah, you have some homework to do, and I think you have the staff notes. These are all spot on comments from Mr. Thabarge. I think if you address these before you come back to the next application or with your application, that'd be very helpful. And
Yep.
obviously, meeting with the fire chief to see what he has to say about it all. Yeah, we're not voting on this, it's just a review of the sketch plan. I think we good?
One question I had on submission. I heard you say to them that, so it's 14 days before a
Okay,
meeting
so
for
a
an
new
existing.
submission is 3 weeks, a new application.
Okay,
If you come before the board like they did, then they're gonna resubmit new information. That deadline is 2 weeks before the meeting. So if you're already in the queue,
okay, so if we're adding information,
yeah,
okay,
If you
so
come
it's
to-
still 21 days.
Yep.
Okay, all right, you got excited. Okay,
It's new to us too, we're still.
no, I know,
Process
well,
it all.
Recently passed.
we submitted thinking it was a 2-week window. And
Oh.
he emailed us and said, actually, we just shifted it to 21 days.
Oh, dang.
So, which we didn't know was coming. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Alright.
you.
Okay, I
Yeah.
think that concludes our agenda items, and the one item I added early on in the meeting was just to try to start keeping track of what we need to do homework on for the 2027 town meeting. I don't have a list. I know we've talked about a few things. I could probably dig up some information, but George, do you have a running list of the stuff that we were planning to target?
well.
Noise ordinance was one.
Yeah, you deferred some issues during the last round of amendments. A couple of those were the noise regulations. And another one was the agriculture was asking for a redefinition of camping.
Mhm.
We know that they are bringing in a set of amendments on agriculture to try to get things recognized as agriculture that are not in the ordinance. the whole set of definitions and standards to apply to those.
Mhm.
You know, what they're looking for is more of a mixed agricultural use bag. Kind of like, you know, some more diversity of agricultural activities, including some commercial parts.
Mhm.
And trying to define where those limits should be and what review should apply
Mhm.
is obviously, like any development interest, they would like to see less is better.
Mhm.
So working through those issues is gonna take quite a bit of time.
Mhm.
Obviously, you folks would want to weigh in on those,
Mhm.
especially when you start talking about not having conditional use reviews of certain types of activities like farm fairs and those sorts of things. So that's a big issue. And the other big ones are gravel pits.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
That's like high on the list for the select board.
But not quite our list, right?
No,
They
but
have
just
to do an
understand,
inventory and all these-
Gravel pits, like gravel
Yeah.
pits, they could come to us.
you'll be
You know,
involved in it.
we'll be involved, but
Yeah.
it's not really our
Right,
list. Yeah.
right. So one question is how much bandwidth is there within the system?
Yep.
And we've got some big issues coming down in terms of the agriculture, in terms of the gravel pits.
And then the big one, the,
The economic development district.
yeah, that and the, affordable housing.
Affordable housing, actually, that's not that big. an
Or
issue.
not big, but, it's
Because-
big that you got the grant.
We got a grant and that's gonna cover the town attorney looking through all the legal requirements
Right.
and doing the tweaks that it says. So for example, the state legislature to do these 3 units of housing on every lot
Mhm.
minimum. Technically, if you were to create 3 separate units on a lot, that requires site plan review or subdivision. So the legislature said you cannot require either site plan review or subdivision to do 3 units of housing on a single lot. So that's the type of tweaking that needs to be done. And again, hopefully the town attorney will take the load of that
Okay.
and shouldn't be much. But the big ones are the agriculture, the gravel pits, and the economic development district. That's gonna be about as much bandwidth. We had talked about cell towers in the past. Right now, you're still in that same place of not having any standards for cell towers, and that's like solar, not having any standards.
Yeah.
However, you know, what are folks probably know, what are the gaps in coverage? Is it likely that somebody's gonna invest a couple $1 million to put up a new tower? Not likely. So that's not a pressing issue. That's probably the other big gap that I've seen in your regulations. So.
So what are we gonna focus on for the 2027 town meeting? Anything or what? I mean, we're
Gravel
talking
pits,
about,
agriculture, economic development district right now are the top issues.
but are those land use ordinance changes that would need to be,
Yeah.
so
All
for,
of them could precipitate land use ordinance changes. So for example,
So the-
gravel pits, right now, the ordinance has this confusion of small borrow pits, 5 acres or less, and large gravel pits, and the conditional use provisions say all gravel pits. The gravel pit regulations can be interpreted to say planning board only reviews the small pits. It's confusing.
That makes
So
sense.
that, and probably the recommendation is gonna be to just all gravel pits.
Yeah.
And you eliminate that confusion.
all right, step back to economic development. So that committee hasn't been formalized yet. You think that there's gonna be enough information generated whenever that group starts through June to have enough information to put into a land use ordinance change? It's a short period of time.
It is, yeah.
I wanna set
Move
some
fast
realistic
with that
goals.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I
Yeah.
mean, hopefully the idea would be to get something moving on that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the first meeting might be this month.
It's probably gonna be September.
You think so?
Yeah.
They just
maybe-
approved one member at large and there's two more that they need to approve and they haven't received applications yet.
Hmm.
They received one, they approved them Tuesday, Monday?
Yeah, they're waiting on the
Yeah.
Agriculture Committee and Conservation Commission to tell
Yeah.
them who wants to be
Okay.
on it.
Right.
Okay, so September, maybe we ask this
And
question.
they've got their own strategic planning schedule for this month.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's gonna keep the
Yeah.
finger on the pulse of that one, but I don't know that there's gonna be enough information generated for a 2027 meeting.
Yeah, I doubt there is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So ag committee, camping, so should we reach out to them to see where they're at or wait for them to
The
approach
agriculture?
us? Yeah,
You could,
I just don't wanna lose sight of stuff.
they've already
And-
been in touch with you, and the group in terms of what they'd like to see happen. So, right now, the ball is in their
in
court
their court.
to give those specific amendments that they're proposing.
That's right.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna, generate this list. I'll pass it around to everybody before next meeting, just so we can keep track of what's out there and
Yeah.
keep tabs on it. Don't wanna fall behind. If there's something that's, in the past, haven't we we've presented to the select board and said, this is what we're thinking of, and they
Yeah.
gave us the thumbs
Yeah.
up, and then we move forward, right?
Yeah.
All right, I just wanna make sure we're on the same track.
Yeah,
Yep.
All right, cool.
yeah. Great. Can I
Anything
make a
else?
motion
Go for it.
to close the meeting?
Second. All approved? All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you for a
Right.
nicely run meeting,
Yeah, very,
Brian.
It was a
very
very
nice. Good job.
agenda packed meeting. Got through.
Yeah, George, good
I
job.
thought we were gonna be here until midnight.
Yeah, me too.
When I first, then things started falling apart based on the applicant.
All right, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. Till next time.
All rise.